All right, B-listers, you know the drill.
This is your official spoiler alert for the episode.
If you don't want any spoilers, stop the episode now.
And if you don't care about spoilers, hold on to your seats because this episode starts
now. Hello, fellow B-listers.
Hi, welcome to the B Critics podcast. We're your hosts, Liz and Court.
And our guest critic for this episode is Allison. Hi, Allison.
Hey, girls. How are y'all?
Good.
Hi, good.
So Allison is my college roommate, one of my besties for the resty. We were actually sorority sisters as well. So we're super excited to talk to Allison today about our movie. So Allison, do you want to introduce the movie?
Sure. So the movie this week is, drumroll, 13 going on 30.
Woo! What a classic movie of our childhood, honestly.
Yes.
Yeah.
Definitely brought out a lot of feels.
Yeah, it did. Okay, so I'm going to give a quick description of the movie for those who might not be exactly our age or haven't seen it. Okay, so 13 Going on 30 is the beautifully nostalgic story of a 13-year-old girl from 1987, Jenna Rink, who's played by Jennifer Garner, who dreams of being popular but faces ridicule from her classmates. On her 13th birthday, Jenna wishes she could be 30, flirty, and thriving. When Jenna's wish surprisingly comes true, she is thrown into the present day where she learns what it really means to grow up, and she discovers what she truly wants her life to look like.
Cute.
Yeah. So this movie is from 2004.
Mm-hmm.
And which I was surprised. I thought it was older than that. Maybe just because it's set in 1987 at the beginning.
I thought it was newer, honestly.
Well, I'm like thinking back of how old I was at 2004, and I feel like I was, I maybe thought it was more of a 2007.
Yeah, because that was like 20 years ago almost. So we were like not even 10.
Yeah.
We weren't even 13 yet.
I know, what the heck?
Okay, so I'm not going to lie to y'all. I discovered as I was watching this movie that I've never seen the whole movie before.
What is wrong
Oh,
with
so
you?
were you surprised at the end?
Well, no, I don't think I was surprised because I think it was like a little predictable, but I realized like I'd only ever seen the beginning parts about like the dream house and when they're kids and because I guess it had come on like TV and stuff, and I've never actually watched it. So it was a very exciting watch for me.
Yeah, it was a weird watch for me. Honestly, it just made me feel old because so the last time I saw this movie, I was closer to 13 than I was 30, and now we're on the cusp of 30, and
Oh, yeah.
I viewed a lot of things about this movie a lot different than I did when I was, 17.
That's true.
A really good point. I'm curious to hear like what y'all have to say about it then based on like your original watches to now when we get into it. So it's directed by Gary Winnick, who I don't think is known for movies like this, but I don't really know a ton about him.
He's known for like art films. So one of his like biggest films is called Tadpole, and that's like artsy, like indie vibes. He's not known for like mainstream commercial type movies, but this one, I mean, it worked.
Yeah, definitely. But I guess this movie is just like known for its nostalgic feel, which we've already touched on. Obviously Jennifer Garner's performance, which we are definitely going to talk about. And then the amazing soundtrack that charted inside the top like 50 of Billboard 200 charts of the year that it came out. And we're definitely going to talk about that for sure.
Yeet.
All right. Are y'all ready to get into it?
Yeah.
Let's do it.
Okay. So I want to start by talking about the soundtrack. Which
was phenomenal.
Yes.
I literally wrote on my notes, like immediately this movie started, I go, excellent intro song.
Yeah.
Yes.
Like it just,
Yes.
they started good and they kept good and it ended great. Like it was just like every song like fit perfectly. It felt like.
And like all the callbacks to the songs. Like they played Thriller when she was young and then they played it again later in the movie. And I thought it was very well done. And I think it elevated the movie like a ton. Like I think without like such a good soundtrack, like we would have not have been vibing with the movie the whole time the same way.
Yeah.
It like set the scene really well.
Mm-hmm. Okay, so we'll talk about like the soundtrack when we talk about the scenes because I think every scene, like I said, is elevated by the soundtrack. So like I'm thinking of like the striptease scene when Ice Ice Baby
I
came on.
have so much to say about that.
I know. But before we do just start going through the movie like scene by scene, let's talk about the cast. So we can start with Jennifer Garner, who plays the older Jenna Rink, like the main character. And my personal opinion is that she was like incredible. Like the moment where, I don't know, I just thought she was so good.
Yeah. So this was actually her like debut movie.
Really?
She had never been a leading role in any movie prior to this. And
Really?
the reason why she got this role was because she had just won a Golden Globe for the movie Alias, where she was a supporting actress.
Wow.
And she got this role after Gary Winnick saw her speech, like her acceptance speech. She was like, she has to be in this movie.
Yeah. Wait, was that before or after? What was that TV show that she had? Or was it Alias was her TV show?
Alias,
You know
yeah.
what I'm talking about? I thought she was
like
the lead in that.
she's like a spy or something.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I guess
never
this was
even heard of
her
that.
like debut movie then that she was
debut movie.
a
Gotcha.
lead in.
Interesting.
Mm-hmm.
Felt like she was like in everything in the mid 2000s.
I agree.
Probably
Yeah.
because of this. When you look up her IMDb, I think this is like her top movie that comes up. Like,
Yeah.
this is a big one.
Mm-hmm.
She's actually in an Apple TV show right now.
Ooh.
And there's like 4 episodes out. I actually watched them last weekend because I was like, Jennifer Garner. I don't know. I'll let y'all know what my rating on the TV show is. I really only like it because it's based off like a book I've read.
What's the show?
It's called The Last Thing He Told Me.
Oh.
Ooh.
She plays like the stepmom and her. I'm going to tell y'all it's the first 20 seconds of the.
Wait, I've read that book.
Show, but yeah. It's like she's the stepmom and her stepdaughter like hates her. Yeah, and then her husband like disappears.
I did not know that
just
was a
like
show.
leaves her a note to protect her. So.
Oh my god, I'm gonna have to watch it. I never thought that Jennifer Garner was like an amazing actress. Like I've seen her in a lot of stuff, but I've never like thought she was amazing. But this movie made me kind of realize like, oh, okay, like she actually is a really good actress.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, she's definitely good at that kind of role, I feel like.
Yeah. Okay.
She said too. So in Alias, she's like very serious and it's like got like kind of a heavy storyline. And she was uncertain whether she wanted to take this role because it would kind of push her career in a different direction.
Mm-hmm.
And she said when she told people about the role and about Jenna Rink and who she was and the movie and all of that, everyone was like, Jennifer, like, this is you. Like, you are this person. And they filmed it in one summer. So the movie was filmed like start to finish in one summer. And it was all filmed like on site in New York City, which is kind of wild.
That is cool. Yeah, I saw in like I watched the whole credits and like one of theirs, they were like, thank you to the city of New York.
All the people we made late for work on multiple occasions.
What?
Yeah.
That's funny. How many movies do you think are actually like that are set in New York are actually filmed in New York City?
I feel like probably a lot because there's a lot of like recording companies like out of New York.
It's hard to replicate that city too. Like,
yeah,
it's got a very distinct feel.
Yeah, that makes sense. Okay, so what about Mark Ruffalo, who plays the older version of Maddie?
He was so cute.
I love Mark Ruffalo. He is everything. He's my favorite actor. And He's perfect in this movie. I love him. Like I would marry Maddie.
So did you find the his glow up believable?
Yeah.
I did. I didn't think he was like that good looking, like as an older
They
man.
also kind of dressed him dorkily as an
Yeah.
adult. Like he wasn't like super smooth.
I thought he
Yeah.
was charming. Like he had that
Mhm.
feel to him, like the same charmingness that he had when he was a kid.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
I think he's kind of supposed to be a little bit of an outcast. Like he's different, he's artsy, he doesn't really care what people think, and they gave off that vibe really well. I read an article about the costuming specifically for this, or the wardrobe. It's not really costumes, the wardrobe. And they were very intentional about his wardrobe specifically. Nothing that he wore was name brand. Everything
Okay.
was like you could have gone to a thrift store and picked it up. Like
That was the vibe.
it was very like intentional of like this is who Maddie is. He's just this like run of the mill like random guy, which I think adds to why he's so lovable because he's just normal.
Yeah, that's kind of the feeling I got from him, is that he was just supposed to be like a normal guy.
Mm-hmm.
Like Jenna was aspiring for like so much extra greatness, and she was dating this athlete, and then he's just like the totally normal guy that she should have seen all along.
Mm-hmm. Love Mark Ruffalo. Big fan.
So I feel like
Is it Ruffalo or Ruffalo?
I don't know. doesn't matter. I don't know.
I was
If
writing
he's your
his name
favorite
down in my
actor.
notes at one point, and I was writing down like something Mark Ruffalo, and I wrote down Buffalo. And I was like,
That makes
Mark
me think
Ruffalo.
it's-
I mean,
That makes me think it's Ruffalo, not Ruffalo. If it
Yeah,
rhymes
probably.
with Buffalo.
that's just always how I've said it, but I don't know that I've ever heard him say it.
Okay, so next is Judy Greer, who plays Lucy, like
Big
the older
fan.
Lucy.
Big
Yeah,
fan.
she was great.
She plays a great best friend. Like she's the best friend in so many movies. Isn't she the best friend in like 27 Dresses too?
Mm-hmm.
I think so. Yeah.
She plays that character like the friend everybody needs. Like doesn't give a shit. Oops, sorry. Doesn't give a shit. Like does kind of her own thing. Like is a little bit ruthless. And sometimes you're like, damn, you just said that. But like she
A
said
little
it.
bit ruthless.
Yeah.
She's definitely
Although
ruthless.
I'm like, and we'll get into this in the later scenes, but I've had a different take on Lucy's character than I did when I was
Younger.
a teenager.
Yeah.
Oh, really?
Like I felt like a little more empathy for her.
Yeah.
Oh, was she like, I guess when you watch it when you're younger, like she's like totally the villain, like through and through?
Totally evil.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, that's interesting. I did not feel that way. Like I
Right, yeah.
recognized that she was bad because she was like the leader of the six chicks or whatever at the beginning, but I don't know, like I guess that didn't phase me the same way it would have when I was like actually 13 and like in the thick of middle school.
I still
Yeah.
think she's evil.
Yeah, she was pretty evil.
Like
Hers
I don't
at
know
the
if
end
she's
were
someone I could
pretty
be
evil.
friends with, you know? It'd be kind of hard.
Yeah.
Yeah, but neither, like Jenna Rink, you couldn't be friends with her until she became Jennifer Garner.
After she figures out she's a horrible person, I could be friends with her.
Yeah, for sure.
Lucy doesn't redeem herself. She just like gets worse and worse.
Yeah, she does. And then she gets like pouty. It's funny.
Yeah. Also, Judy Greer improvised a lot of her lines. Like they kind of gave her an idea of what was going to happen in the scene and told her to
Oh.
just say stuff. So all
That's
those
cool.
like random lines where at one point Jenna Rink says like, and he showed me his thingy, and she's like, oh God, not his thingy. That's like completely improvised.
That makes it better. I wish I knew that going in.
It makes it more like her like quips are like more like actually what your friend would say to you when you're like being stupid.
Yeah.
I was obsessed with Jennifer Garner just like being 13, like in her adult body. It was just so weird. Like every time she would say something, like it was like cringy, but I was like, this is like so well executed. It's like incredible to watch.
Yeah.
The last person is Andy Serkis, who plays Richard. They're like boss at the magazine.
Okay, so he came on the screen, and so I was watching with my husband, and he was like, he's in this? And I was like, why? Who is this guy? And he's like, that's Gollum. And I was like,
yeah.
what?
Yeah, he's in like He's like in fantasy movies. Like that's the other stuff that he's in. And then he's like randomly this like magazine editor boss man.
So okay, there's a documentary that was made about the making of this movie, and
Oh.
I watched the whole thing.
Of course.
But Gary, the director, mentions on multiple occasions Richard and how they kept having to have Andy Serkis like tone it down. They're like, you're doing too much. Like you're supposed to be comedic relief, and like you're supposed to, like you're this like little tiny part, like just little. And he wanted to be this like really flamboyant, like super extra, like mean guy. And they're like, no, you're supposed to be like cute and funny. And they kept having to like reel him back in and be like, all right, Andy, like calm down.
I liked all the parts though when he was like extra flamboyant. Like I thought that was like the funniest parts.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So. He was a good character. It was surprising how much I was like, oh man, I like him.
I know, I want to work for him.
Because you think you're like, oh, the editor of a magazine, he's gonna be a jerk, but he like was really, really supportive of Jenna Garner's character the whole time. Jenna Rink.
Well, I feel like he was just like the business guy. Like he wasn't like the creative vision the same way that like Jenna's was supposed to be. So okay, also in this movie, did you notice that there were like a lot of random actors that were like small parts, but then are like big people now? So like old Chris Grandy was Jim Gaffigan.
Yeah, that caused a commotion when he came on screen.
Why?
Well, I was watching with my husband. He was like, "What? Jim Gaffigan's here?" And then we had to pause the movie and talk about Jim Gaffigan for 5 minutes.
And then that's funny because I had noticed it because I was watching by myself, but I noticed it and was like, "Wait, who is that? Wait, that doesn't make any sense." It like my brain was like not computing that Jim Gaffigan was like this. Oh my gosh, so funny. And then I guess Brie Larson was one of the 6 chicks.
Yeah, and so was Ashley Benson, who plays Pretty Little Liars.
Yeah, super random.
Another random character. So the girl that plays Jenna when she's younger, I think her name's Christy. I wrote it down. Christy Allen. She has 2 movies she's ever done. This one and another one. And in both of the movies, she played younger Jennifer Garner. In both of them.
She looks just like her.
What was the other movie?
It's like Ghosts of Girlfriends Past or something like that. I don't know.
Interesting. She is now 30. And she's like near 30. And when on her 30th birthday, she posted a picture in the iconic Thriller dress.
Cute.
Oh. Wait, but does she look like Jennifer Garner now?
Not really.
She does look like Jennifer Garner.
Oh, really? I thought she didn't, but she probably does.
Cool.
That makes sense.
Well, I mean, Jennifer Garner has like a very generic look, in my opinion. So it's probably up to interpretation if she looks like her or not, you know?
I mean, she looks like an older version of her 13-year-old self, but like she still resembles Jennifer Garner.
Yeah.
It's cool.
It's the mouth, I think. They have like big mouths.
Okay, so this is like a good transition because we're talking about the girl who plays her, but I want to talk about like young Jenna, 13-year-old Jenna, because I feel like she was a very relatable character and there's like so much to talk about. But the first thing that stood out to me was I think I wrote down in my notes like how much I felt for her on picture day. Like that scene.
Yeah, it took me back. Because I feel like everyone's had a bad picture day.
Yes.
Yeah.
Like I remember I had a picture day, I forgot about it, and I didn't shower. Luckily, it was like not the one that goes in the yearbook, but oh man.
Oh yeah,
but
there was always
thank goodness for digital cameras.
Yeah.
Because they would always just let us retake it.
Yeah.
Oh, that's so true.
If there's only one take, like that's it.
That's so true. Okay, so then we need to talk about like just the whole idea of Maddie being like her neighbor, the neighbor boy. Because I don't know about y'all, but I feel like everybody had like the neighbor boy that was like kind of close to your age and you like loved them. Like you just couldn't help it. Like you were just in love with them. I had one who lived next to me who was like 1 grade above me, and my brother is 1 grade below me, and he had a brother who was in my brother's grade as well. So we all would like play together, and I was like in love with him for like all of elementary school, basically.
Mm.
Well, you should look him up. Where is he now?
He's
Yeah.
married.
Oh.
Yeah.
You
Yeah.
could have your own like 13 going on 30 situation where you run in and try to cancel their wedding and they're like, no.
Could you imagine? Oh, wow. I don't think it would go the same way.
Pick me, choose me. Love me.
But he made her the dream house.
Yeah.
How do we
I
feel
want to
about
know
dream
how
house?
this child made something like that.
I know.
It took him 3 weeks, apparently.
That's what I said. It just looks so good. And like, did they have printers? Like, how was he making like all these scenes? And I guess
So what I was thinking is there's
photos.
like a picture of him like with his camera and he's like posing and it's like, and I was like, who took that picture? Do you have your mom like, here, take a picture of me really quick? And like,
Probably.
goes, like,
Probably. That's hilarious.
They definitely had printers. The printing press came out in like the 1800s, I'm pretty sure.
Yeah, but photo like color in the 80s,
have
did they
gone
print in
to-
color?
Like, what do you call it? Like the Kodak printing place?
Oh yeah, you could like make it in photos. I think a lot of it came out of magazines too. Like you probably cut stuff out of magazines.
Yeah,
I'm
but
just
the one
now
was a picture
considering
of her
that.
face for sure.
It's like a photo. I
yeah,
guess.
there was like a cutout of her face on like in the bathtub or something. It was kind of weird.
That was kind
And
of
then
weird.
Bruce Springsteen
Yeah.
making sure that creep keeps his hands to himself.
What a line.
Cute. Okay, so next is the 6 chicks.
Hated them immediately.
Just like as a concept, did y'all have a 6 chicks at your school?
Yes, and they called themselves the 7.
Really?
Yeah.
At my school?
But I don't think they named themselves that. I think they were just like 7 girls who were friends with each other, and like the guys were like, "Oh, it's the 7."
I'm sure they named themselves. No,
There's
guy
always
is
a boy
coming up.
involved.
Yeah, I definitely wasn't in the 7. They're all still friends though.
Oh
Yeah. So my high school had this group of girls that were 2 grades above me, and they called themselves the calendar girls, because they each had a birthday in different calendar month, and there were like 12 of them.
12 friends that's such a big friend group.
They're
That's
like
a
all
lot.
still friends. They're all still friends. It's wild.
I think I had one friend in high school, like 12.
I don't know. Yeah, that's a lot. Like I was like friends with the girls in my soccer team, and then I had like my 2 or 3 friends like outside of that. And like I just remember those girls, and they were all in like different activities, like all across the school. They were just like the popular girls in that grade, and they were all friends.
Interesting.
Very interesting.
My school didn't have anything like that. We were like, my school had 2 middle schools that fed into it. So like when you got to high school, you were like coming into like like half of the school was new people that you'd never met before. So I
Yeah.
think that kind of like toned down some of the clickiness because you had to make new friends, and like if you thought you were the popular girl, there's probably somebody more popular than you at the other school. So
Did y'all ever read that book called, I think it was called Click, or The Click?
Oh, did I read the Click? I read all those Click books. They had a movie too. Those were so cringy, but it was like honestly so on par for like
Yes, it was like that
middle
era.
school girl.
Yes, yes. I feel like that's what this reminded me of a lot. Like just that way of thinking. I wonder if like Gen Z kids are like this now, or if they're more.
I don't think they are. I think that like, cause like the 6 were just like that, you know, the Tam Tam. She was so mean, like so mean. Like I feel like that's like kids now would not be that. Like there's bullying happening, but I think that they're a lot more sly about it.
I hope so.
yeah.
Okay. So then the last scene of young Jenna is the birthday party scene. I guess there's more. There's like when her parents were filming her and stuff. That was so funny.
The dad
She's,
with
like,
the
stuffing her
camcorder. He's like, honey, are you wearing a bra? Like
her
on
stuffing
video.
her bra. Did y'all ever stuff your bra? I don't remember.
I don't think I ever did.
I don't think
I
I
think I like I went through puberty early, so
I did not. I didn't have boobs until I was like 18, but it's fine.
We moved past this.
Yeah. I was though, like in my early 20s, like I was very much like vibing with Jennifer Garner. I was like, I have boobs now. This is amazing. Okay, so the birthday party. Like that whole scene where all the 6 chicks come in and the guys and they steal the snacks and it was so mean. I like could not believe that they were that mean. I don't feel like anybody at my school was that mean, but maybe that was just like I didn't experience that.
I think
Yeah,
the
I didn't.
older
I mean,
girls
there
might
was.
have been.
Yeah, maybe.
I mean, we had meanness, but it was not that obvious. It was always just kind of like, oh yeah, like leaving people out.
Yeah.
Kind of thing.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Slyly poking fun.
Yeah. Or like talk behind your back, but like not to your face.
Yeah. They were like mean to her face, and she was like, "Oh, I just love them." I was like, "Girl, what is going on here?"
Yeah, she wanted so bad to be cool.
I guess she got it.
I felt for him in that scene where, although I don't like. I mean, he like she goes into the closet and she's waiting for him, and she was like thinking that it was Chris Grandy coming in, and then he like Maddie just went for it and kissed her, which I was like,
props to you. Yeah, that was cute. That he like clearly like really was into her and she was like not seeing it at all. I feel like that's
Yeah.
like that in and of itself is very classic, like middle schooler, high schooler age feelings.
Yeah. I will say though, like how she's like, oh my gosh, like these 30-year-olds in these magazines look so cool. At 13, 30 seemed so old.
Yeah, I never was like that. I was like 18. Y'all are like big adults.
Yeah.
Yeah.
30 was like my mom's 30. Like,
yeah. Yeah, no, honestly. Okay. So then Jenna wishes on the wishing dust that she could be 30.
Yeah.
And
I will point out too, the transformation, like her waking up being 30 years old is exactly 13 minutes into the movie.
Exactly.
What? That's random. Is that like coincidental?
I don't know.
Okay, well, this is probably my favorite scene when Jenna wakes up 30. Now it's Jennifer Garner, and she encounters the naked man in her apartment
with the umbrella.
And she's obsessed with her boobs.
Samuel Ball is fantastic as that character. Like he
is.
does not care at all. Like you can tell he's not shy. He's very comfortable with his body. Like just
okay, but also I felt for him because he was so likable. Like he was like a douchey hockey player, but he was so nice.
Yeah, he was not douchey at all. He was just like into her, like obsessed with her the whole movie.
Yeah. And she was not a good girlfriend.
I may have like misinterpreted this, but I think there was a slight like imposition. Is that the right word?
I don't know.
They're like suggesting that he and Tom are like sleeping together on the side. He and Lucy.
Oh, I didn't catch that.
I did not catch
There's
that.
like the scene where they like she's with Lucy and she sees like whatever his name is like across the street. And like asks Lucy about him. And then Maddie and Wendy show up and Jenna like makes this face like Tom or Lucy and the boyfriend like look at each other and make like a face at each other, and then Jenna like notices it and like doesn't say anything.
That's so true.
But that's like I thought that was like slightly like suggested that that's what was going on.
I mean, I would believe it because Jenna's character was supposedly like sleeping with somebody's husband too. So could be a thing.
Yeah.
I loved all the sexual stuff though. Like with the boyfriend, like so the strip tease by the boyfriend.
Oh my god.
It was so good. we were like, oh my gosh, he's so fun. Like
Yeah. So what's funny about that scene is Jennifer Garner didn't want to do that scene because she's uncomfortable.
She looked uncomfortable.
She was like actually embarrassed that like that was going
Yeah.
on in front of her. And
Okay.
so she's like, a lot of the reactions you see are from like the first time that they did, because they spent like 60 takes doing this.
What?
And so they pieced together him dancing. He came up with all those moves, by the way, but they pieced together him dancing throughout, and all of her reactions are like real reactions that she had, like
Oh my gosh.
just super uncomfortable and like I work with this man and he's like doing this. And but Sam, in the documentary I watched, he was like, I loved it, and I like to think that there was an ounce of her that enjoyed it too.
That's so funny. I thought it was
Yeah.
amazing. I thought the song choice was really good.
Mhm.
It was cute. And then
although back to her waking up at 30, like, so this is another example of how me viewing it closer to 30 is different. So it's like now I have like nieces and nephews that are like that age. I'm like, this could be framed as a horror film.
yeah,
Like,
it
could you
could.
imagine? Like that
No,
shit,
that's what I was
mean,
thinking.
in New York City, running around, not knowing what a cell phone is, not knowing, I mean, honestly, like now, like me showing up in New York City now, I'd be like, I don't know where to go. But like, she didn't know where her parents were. She didn't know where she was. There was a strange, scary man in her room.
Naked
like, that's
man.
terrifying.
Yeah, if I was 13 and then all of a sudden I was 30 with a naked man, I would be like, I don't know. I had not even kissed a boy at that age. So I would have just been like so thrown and terrified constantly.
13, like she, like a day before she was 12. Like,
Yeah.
that's so young.
I know.
Yeah.
I didn't even think about that, but it's so
Oh,
good.
I was thinking about that a lot. I was like,
Oh,
I
the whole
would
movie.
genuinely be terrified of everything that's happening. And he was like being so sexually forward with her, like all the time. He was like really into her. And I was just like, girl, like get away.
No, boys were so scary at that age.
And then she went like running around town in her like silky nightgown. I was
Oh my
like, put on some clothes. She had no
I
idea.
personally really enjoyed the hyperventilating. Anytime something would happen, she'd be like, I need a puppy pillow. And you're just like,
but like, honestly though, I get it. Like, I would be having panic attacks. Like, her whole world changed.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
What about this scene?
I love when she was like, she called her parents' number and they were like on a cruise, and she was like, y'all went on a cruise without me?
She just hangs up.
She did a really, really good job, like with her facial expressions and everything, of like acting like she was 13. Like I liked her becoming friends with the neighbor girl too.
Oh man, another iconic scene that we'll talk about, I'm sure.
Yeah.
But one of the other like sexual scenes, I guess, I don't know if sexual is the right word, but where stuff was implied was when she was talking with Tam Tam, or her friend Lucy, at the bar, and they were just at like a restaurant, I think, but she turned over and was like, oh, that guy's cute, and she's like, go after him. And then she like walked over and talked to the 12-year-old kid.
The cringe.
I know. So cringy.
And like, it was so funny. That was another thing that when we were closer to 13, that was hilarious. But now it's like, oh my God, you could like, do you want to go to jail? Like,
yes.
Stranger danger.
I was not expecting it at all, though. I was like, what is she going to do when she goes and talks to this guy? Like, she's not going to be interested in him. And then she went and talked to the kid, and I was like, oh.
I just loved how like into it the boy was. Like, he was just very like, yeah, like, let me get your number. And you're like, that is so how boys that age act. Like, oh, this like older woman's into me, I'm so hot. Like, let me be cool.
I think he might have had spiky hair too.
Yeah, he did.
So perfect.
Okay, so then Jenna throughout the movie had to act as the magazine editor. So she's supposed to be like this tough girly, and now she's like a 13-year-old kid. So she's like in meetings with the fruit roll up on her finger.
Which, can we talk about the whole magazine editor?
Yeah.
So I mean, I know that that's like a high paying job, but the apartment and the shoes, how did
Yeah.
she afford that? Like, that was a nice apartment.
I think that's how all like New York movies are.
Yeah.
Well,
Like they always have a nicer apartment than you think that they can really afford.
Well, I think too, she's high up there. And if you
Yeah.
think about the industry she's in, like if you don't have, you're out. Like if you aren't like hip with it, if you don't have like the new bag, the new whatever ran on the Gucci runway this year, like you are not it, and they're going to replace you with somebody. So I think a lot of
That's true.
them, a lot of people like in that industry like spend a lot of money and probably have a lot of debt. So
Well, and she probably gets stuff
what
for
it
free
is.
from the magazine, I would think.
Yeah, I hope so.
Yeah. You would hope.
But good on her for being that. Like, I mean, you know, we're talking about how she's a terrible person, but she's got to be really like sharp to like get to where she got, you know?
Yeah.
Well, they kind of imply though that she was like being kind of a cheat the whole time too to get there.
Yeah. I want to go back to her closet cuz Allison, you mentioned the shoes.
The
So
shoes.
the closet was fantastic. So much fun. Like I would love to have a closet look like that. But also, so the scene with her in the closet, like the picture of it, like when you're looking at it and you're like looking down the thing and she's like looking at the shoes, that picture was in the Poise magazine she was looking at when she was saying like I want to be 30 like these women. So she like
Yes.
grew up and got the apartment from the magazine.
Yeah, I feel
I
like
didn't catch
that
that.
I feel like that whole like her apartment and like who she was as a 30-year-old was very much like when you're 13, what you imagine your life is
Straight
going to
out
be
of a
like.
magazine.
Yeah, like it's not real. Like it was kind of like a caricature of like what she thought that her life would be like.
Mhm.
Yeah, or maybe it's just like a whole, like the dust that was sprinkled on the house was just like some kind of crazy LSD drug, and it was all a hallucination.
I mean, wow. That's
Wow,
possible.
we're turning this into like a psychological thriller, I guess.
Yeah, this is my hot take as 13 going on a 30 as a scary movie.
I mean, it really could have been a scary movie. Like really think about that. Like
Yeah.
freaky.
Change out the music and there you go.
Okay, so Jenna's the magazine editor and they have the party where she has to like save the dancing because everybody's leaving too early. First of all, before we get into the thriller part, her outfit, like the dress that she's wearing, the way her hair is like done up and all like the spiky pigtails everywhere.
Mhm.
That was
Amazing.
very fun.
Mhm.
And I love that the like actual 13-year-old like in her apartment complimented her in the elevator.
Yeah, because it's
I've
what
got
a
these
13-year-old would have picked as an
Yeah.
outfit.
Mhm. Yeah.
But to be fair, the 30-year-old probably bought that dress. Like, I don't think she knew how to like, use a credit card. She
No.
wasn't out, but we didn't see her out, buying stuff.
I think she pulled it from her closet, so
Mhm.
it was her
Yeah.
clothes.
So the dance scene, which
Yeah.
I'm just gonna say I learned the Thriller dance after watching this just because I thought it was so cool.
I knew the
But
Thriller dance as a kid too.
yeah, as I was watching this, I was like, I don't remember as a child there being like line dances. Like, now there's like the Cupid shuffle and like all these random dances that adults do. Like, was that a thing? Do we know
Yeah.
if that was a thing? Like, is
Yeah.
this just like them randomly having this dancing scene or
No.
I
At
think that the Thriller video, I do really think that everyone at 13 in 1987 knew that dance.
Yeah.
Yes, 100%.
Because it was like the new age of music videos. That's when it was
Yeah.
like, that's what you watched was
Mhm.
VH1.
Yeah. And also line dancing definitely was a thing. In my middle school gym class, we had
Oh,
like
yeah. Did y'all have the square dancing and the line dancing? We did too.
yes, we had like a line dancing unit. So we would like learn all the line dances
I
and
don't
that was what
remember
we
that.
did like in gym class and then we would go to the like dances and they would try to get us to all do the line dances, like at the middle school dances, as opposed
Did
to
y'all
like
have partner
driving.
dances? Like, did you have to do that in middle school? Like, we had
No.
like 7th grade, you did like partner, and that was at age 13. You did partner line dances. So like you would like all be in a circle, and the girls would be on the inside, and the guys would be on the outside, and you had to dance with every single guy in the gym class. And it would be like you'd do like a 20-second sequence, and then you'd switch, and it would be all to like Cotton Eye Joe, and then
I don't think we could
and
have
then
handled
8th
that
grade
as
they
middle
made us do
schoolers.
ballroom. Yeah.
What? Ballroom?
No, I never got that
No.
part of gym.
We would have, the middle schoolers that I went to middle school with, like, would not have been able to handle that, like, at all. No.
Well, they've just, yeah. I'm glad they did, though, because that, like, made boys, like, a little less scary, because you had to hold their hand for a second.
You'd already talked to all of them and touched them all.
Hold their hand for a second.
Even the ones that were a little icky at the time,
Yeah.
Their 13-year-old kids could be pretty icky.
So Mark Ruffalo in this scene, he looks uncomfortable. Maddie.
I was shocked he even showed up. Like, I just didn't
too.
feel like, I was like, he came after, like, he was, I mean, I guess maybe he was just worried about her.
Mm-hmm. So what's really funny is Mark Ruffalo didn't want to do that scene. And he almost turned down making the movie because he didn't want to do the Thriller dance scene.
Why?
What is with these actors, like, not wanting to be in the scenes they have to be in? Like, it's your job.
Yeah, in the most fun scenes.
Yeah.
His thing is, so Mark Ruffalo's in a lot of superhero movies, and he plays, like, buff guys. And he doesn't dance. Like, he's like, I don't dance. I don't know how to dance. He's like, you should have seen me trying to learn this thing. Like, Jennifer Garner's over here like a sugar plum fairy, like, flirting around. And I'm like, don't have any clue what's going on. But yeah, he almost turned on the movie. But I thought it was super cute. Like, I loved it. I thought the way he acted in the scene was perfect. Like,
yeah, I thought so too.
Big fan.
Mm-hmm.
I like.
And she saved the party.
Of course.
Bravo.
And the boss. Oh man,
Richard, he was so supportive. He loved her outfit. Like, it was kind of unrealistic.
Yeah, no, I loved when like the editor of the Sparkle magazine came up, and she was like the evil one, and Jenna calls her, "You're mean and something and frizzy, and I don't like you."
I don't like you at all.
She's very bold for a 13-year-old.
Yeah.
Yeah, right. Okay, so that's what I was also like. A 13-year-old had a lot of confidence.
Yes.
She was also sipping on
So
those
much
pina
confidence.
coladas all evening.
That's true.
Yes, that is very true. Okay, so I want to talk about all the scenes too where she's going after Maddie, just like in general. So like when she's older. So like when she, first freaks out and she like has her assistant get his information and she just like shows up at his place. And then just like throughout like their interactions and like he's engaged, and I guess she kind of like sparks something in him to be like, oh yeah, like I forgot that I could feel this way again.
Man, I also felt differently about that whole relationship now that I'm older and like have planned a wedding. I was kind of like, I think I put like justice for the fiance down in my notes. Like,
yeah,
what's he doing?
I felt bad for her.
Yeah, I think he probably just doesn't know what he's doing, and Jenna's treating Maddie the way she always treated him. Like when they were younger, she's treating him the same way. And honestly, that's on him. Like and you see him kind of pull back a couple times, like when he shows up to the Thriller party and like leaves early because he's like, wait, this is not okay. Or when he's like, oh, it's getting late, like I think it's time for you to leave, and she's like, well, let's go get some razzles or whatever. And like you see him kind of trying, but like he didn't try very hard. Like how much does he really like this Wendy lady?
Well,
I mean, I guess that would be confusing. Like if you're like, oh, your very first crush came back to your life, and you'd be like, oh man.
I don't think I would be fazed by my very first crush. I think I'd be okay.
I mean, he says that he has always loved her. So
he made her the dream house. He clearly really loved her.
Yeah, but
No
then
guy
she
ever
was
did that
mean
for
to him
me.
for the next like 7 years.
More than that, like 17
Well,
years.
well, she hadn't seen him in like 10 years at that point, I think.
Yeah.
It's wild.
But I do think the reason it worked is because it was really innocent. Like she was acting like a 13-year-old. So she
Wasn't being
wasn't like,
malicious.
yeah, she wasn't being malicious. She wasn't being like overly like touchy or anything like that. She was just like hanging out with him and like having a good time and like being herself. And it was like their personalities that meshed more than like anything else. So I think that's why it was cute more than anything.
Yeah, and at the end when he said like, no, I'm not like going along with this, she like just accepted it right away.
Yeah.
And like left.
Yeah. Okay. So next is kind of like when she's realizing well, I guess she's trying to save the magazine. So we can talk about her trying to save the magazine, like the yearbook photo shoot stuff. I thought that was
And
a
she
little
was
bit.
reading did y'all catch that she was reading a magazine editing for dummies book?
Yeah.
No.
Yeah. She's got like the face mask going and like reading the thing and eating the Cheetos.
Oh my gosh, she was eating so much like candy and like
Junk food.
I was like, that is like probably the most unrealistic part of this movie. Like you can't just like be eating all of that stuff when you're 30 anymore.
I eat all of those things.
Well, I tried to also, but and then but she was kind of making me realize like when you're 30, you like restrict yourself so much from like all the things you loved when you were a kid. I think that's why it was cute too. But then like she kind of ends up in this battle against Lucy where they're like kind of going head to head and like at the very end Lucy like backstabs her and she has to deal with that as well. But
I mean,
I guess
what
just like
I want to know out of that whole situation is this sparkle company had been working with Jenna for so long. And like Lucy just comes in and she's like, I found out about your plan. It's time to make me editor in chief. Like, you think that would actually happen?
well, she shared
No.
all of the she stole all of Maddie's pictures, and I think that's why.
Yeah, but how's she going to recreate that? Like, they think she's going to be able to recreate that at their magazine?
she probably told them
like,
that she
I
made
don't
it.
know. I don't know. I also don't think the reboot like that would have worked for a high fashion magazine. Like, I think people
No.
would have been like, what is this?
Like the yearbook thing, I thought that was
No.
like very unrealistic. Yeah. But you know, I do think magazines do weird stuff like that. So
Well, I feel like it made sense. Is like you have to rebrand to like get a little more like relatable, and I think that's what she was going towards. Of like, okay, let's not be like this whole high fashion vibe. Let's go more, every woman.
I loved
Yeah.
how by the end her assistant lady, like she went from being like scared of her to like being her biggest supporter ever.
Yeah.
Like that, she was one of my favorite characters throughout the movie.
That was a cute transformation.
Like when she was reading her the messages and she's like, do you want me to continue reading them?
She's like, I'll just read them by myself. Thank you. I liked the scene where she's like, her final prince came in to do her like rebranding presentation, and she's like talking to Richard, and Eileen's there, and she tells Richard, she's like, oh, time to go, like we gotta get the prince. And she's like, Eileen, are you coming? And he's like, oh, you're invited too? Okay.
But again, he was so supportive of her.
Yeah, the whole time.
He
was
saw
like,
her worth.
Yeah, y'all both give me information. Like, y'all come up with ideas, but like Jenna, I'm most excited for yours.
Yeah.
Oh, he loved her.
Also, the fact that Lucy's was like actually scary. I was like, what is happening? There's drugs on the screen. Like, she used the word suicide on a magazine cover. Like,
what was the theme? Like fashion suicide?
Fashion suicide.
Yeah, and it's like it's kind of wild to me that she's like she had to have like been talented too to be in her position. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
but that was
either that or she rode Jenna's coattails.
I think she rode Jenna for sure. Okay, so probably the most realistic part of the movie was Jenna going home to her parents. Like,
Yeah, can
finally
we
going
talk
home.
about their house for a second? Like,
Yeah.
and again, and I'm older, I was looking at their garden, but like, oh my gosh. There's like, their house was beautiful. They had like all
Perfectly
of these
manicured.
flowers, perfectly manicured. Which,
I didn't
is
even
relevant to
notice.
me because I'm trying to plant some flowers.
I feel like it's very much like they're like Jenna was kind of the girl next door. Like her family was like the perfect American family. Like they had the cute little house and like
Very suburban.
yeah,
Mm-hmm.
it just like added to the whole like you came from this like I don't even know what the word is, like humble start and you've like turned yourself into something that's not even recognizable to anyone including your family. Like
Well,
you don't
and
even fit in there anymore.
her parents were just so sweet too. Like at the very beginning when they were like, just like, oh my God, you're 13. And her dad was trying to film her and they loved her so much. And then she became this like hard bitch and
Monster.
like, yeah. But yeah, she goes home to her parents and Maddie's having his wedding next door. And
The cutest little backyard wedding since I don't know when. That's what the
I
fiance was. I was
know.
like, oh gosh.
I liked Wendy. We need some justice for Wendy because she was
Yeah,
not a
justice
bad
for Wendy.
person.
And she was like not even mean. Like she was the right amount
No.
of like protective of Maddie, but she wasn't like mean or rude to Jenna in any way, like throughout the
No.
movie.
And she kind of had the right to be.
Mhm.
Yeah, 100%.
Like
What is
Jenna
this
would
girl
just
doing
show
around?
up. She's like, it's the day before our wedding. What are you doing here? Like,
Could you imagine?
Yeah.
Could you imagine?
yeah, I could imagine actually. Some people are just like that.
Yeah. But then, so is there anything y'all want to talk about, like the wedding specifically? Like when she goes in and talks to Maddie and is like, you need to choose me.
Oh yeah, I did write down on my notes. We had a debate over whether we thought Mark Ruffalo knew how to tie a bow tie. he just like had his bow tie around him, and we're like, "Oh, do you think he knows how to tie a bow tie?" Because
No.
like,
What guys know how to tie a bow tie?
Hayden knows how to tie a bow tie.
He's an anomaly.
Brent had to learn for our wedding, but like it was like we like asked every man in our life, "Do you know how to tie a bow tie?" Like, and no one did.
See?
It's a lost skill.
Yeah.
I know I have seen Hayden, in order to tie a bow tie on another guy, like get behind
Put
him.
it on. Yeah.
Yes. And like tie it as if it's like he's tying it himself.
Mhm. Yeah.
Then other guys come in with like the clip-on bow ties. You can't
But
even
anyways,
tell,
why
to be
was he
honest.
alone getting ready? Also,
That's
No
how it is in all
friends.
those movies.
Like,
The guys get alone and they're like, what was he even doing? He was like staring out the window. Like,
he was like getting ready. He was literally like 2 seconds later, he's walking down the aisle. Like the bride song is going like as she's like walking away.
yeah. I did have
Wonder.
mad respect for him when he was like, "That's her family down there. What do you expect me to say? Like, I'm getting
Yeah.
married today." Like, I am so glad that he didn't like run off in the wind with her, because that would have ruined the movie.
It's funny that you say that because that was actually Mark Ruffalo's idea.
Really?
He was like, we need to have this anti-rom-com like faux ending to make the movie make sense. Like he
I
can't
thought it was
just
good.
flip the switch and run away with Jenna after he's fallen in love with this woman and created a life with her. And that wasn't like originally how the movie was going to go. Mark Ruffalo was like, we have to have this has to resolve some way.
It's the only way that made sense that she would
Mhm.
even go back to being 13 again.
Yeah.
Yeah, I
Was
agree.
that like, oh wow, because her life was a disaster, right? Her like company, like the magazine was gonna fold. Maddie said no. She had no friends.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Yep. Yeah. No, I thought it worked perfectly because like the twist, then it made the end like a twist. Like
Mhm.
I loved the end. I wrote down the quote of what everybody said. Like when she turned 13 and Matt came in and then she was like, "Come on, Matt, we're going to be late." And he was like, "For what?" And she was like,
Their
"You'll
wedding.
see." And then they walk out
Oh
into
my
their
gosh.
wedding.
Well,
I was
actually, like right before that scene, I had to pause the movie and like take a break. I was telling you earlier there was drama, but like
what was the drama?
No, because we were watching and I got a call, like I got a text from my sister, and like she's on a baby moon, and so someone like sent cookies to her house, so they were sitting on her porch, and she lives 30 minutes away, so she was like, "Do you want these cookies?" And I was like, "Oh man!" So I was like debating on if I wanted to like an hour drive to get cookies, and then I went to the bathroom, and then I realized that the pen I was taking notes with exploded in my mouth. So then I had to run and brush my teeth. And I came back and the dog was cute. But anyways, and then we got back and we.
So did you get the cookies?
No, I didn't. No, her realtor was able to get them. So
gotcha.
They didn't go to waste.
Okay. Wait, a pen exploding in your mouth sounds horrible.
Yeah, I don't know what happened or how I didn't notice. Like I think all the ink's gone now, but I was blue yesterday.
I love that. That's very Allison.
Yes. Well, my experience was a little bit different. I rewinded this part and watched it again because I liked it so much.
Aww.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Also, I will say, like when they're automatically. It goes so fast. It's like she comes out of the closet, they kiss, and then they're 30 again. And the only thing I could think of like is like, okay, that pink house.
Yes.
Very pink.
You know what else I was
Liz,
thinking
you're
about?
the only person I could think of who would actually live in that.
Oh yeah. Oh, are you kidding? I've like already told Hayden, I was like, we need to paint the whole inside pink because there's not enough pink in our house. This is my only
Pepto Bismol.
Oh, it was beautiful.
My gosh. It was so pink. Like I get that's like what you want at 13, but like she grew up and as a 30-year-old made that choice.
Okay, but that's what I was going to ask is like, do you think she gets to experience 13 to 30? Because in both scenarios, she skipped it.
No, I think that's why I didn't like the ending kind of felt weirdly rushed to me.
Mm-hmm.
But like, I think that's exactly what happened is she goes back to 13 and then lives her whole life up to back 30 with Matt.
Yeah, the movie was supposed to have a montage of them like hitting a bunch of milestones together, like
cute.
Going to prom and going to college and like doing all these things together, and it just like didn't make the cut for the movie. I think they thought it would make the most sense to like just skip straight ahead and like because you just saw the devastating ending of him like saying no to her and moving on with his life and kind of like cutting her out because at that point they can't even be friends anymore, you know? Like there's no coming back from that.
I feel like the montage would have been good though because I finished the movie like feeling very unresolved. Like I was
right,
like,
and I was like, what? I wanted to know what her career was like. Like I was like, okay, great, she gets married. Is that the only thing we care about?
No,
you know, like she was a successful woman.
Yeah, I want to make sure she didn't give up all of that just for this man.
Yeah.
Well, I think the whole point of that is like, was that really like her dream? Or did she just want that because that's what Lucy wanted and the popular girls wanted? Like, was she only going after that and was she only in that place because she thought that's what she needed to do to be popular, to be cool, to have people like her? And like in the second reality, the only thing she cares about is like who she is and who she surrounds herself with.
You know what would have been a good ending is if she was nice to everybody and she still got everything she wanted. So like basically the moral of the story was like you don't have to be a bitch to like get all the things that you want in life.
Yeah.
Maybe she did get what she wanted.
Well, but I did know. I was happy to see that she had like bridesmaids. Like they had a bridal party in their wedding. Because I was like, oh, there's people in dresses, right? She has some friends.
Okay, so at least there's that.
Yeah.
They were not the focus, but they were there.
Yeah, that's very important.
Man, do you think there's like a montage of this movie that's just like out there somewhere that we'll never get to watch?
Yeah, should we find the deleted scenes?
Yeah, speaking of deleted scenes, actually. So there was a scene, it was deleted from the movie for whatever reason. But Jenna, like when she's 30, finds out she has a tattoo.
Oh, and that would have been a good scene.
What happens is Matt tells her like, you know, like you seem to be having some like memory issues. Like, why don't you go to a doctor and like see if something's wrong? And she goes to the doctor and is like, getting like checked out or whatever. And then the doctor goes to leave and he's like, oh, by the way, I like your tattoo. And she's like, what? And like goes like frantically looking around her body for the tattoo.
That would have been funny.
Yeah.
I feel
Again,
like though,
terrifying.
it's good that they cut out the doctor scene because I feel like if she'd actually gone to a doctor, they would have like admitted her to a psych ward.
Yeah.
Yeah.
For
So
sure.
that would have been very unrealistic.
They're been like, wait a minute, you're 30 and you think you're 13 and you don't remember anything between 13 and now. That's an issue.
Because that could really happen. Like, you could, like, hit
Yeah.
your head and, like, lose years.
Mm-hmm.
That would be crazy. Okay. Is there anything else that we didn't talk about the movie that y'all want to make sure we hit on?
Again, I was watching with my husband, and I've never seen the movie Big. And it's like a Tom Hanks. I think it's like from the 80s or 90s, but he swears that it's the exact same plot.
Oh, we'll have to watch that and
I
compare.
know. I feel like we need to go back because it's like Tom Hanks. He was, somewhere around 13, wishes he's big, somehow becomes big. It's the name of the movie, and then like kills it at his job, and then goes back to being 13. So I'm like, that sounds like very similar.
Which
we'll
movie
have
came
to
out
do that one and
first?
bring you back on, Allison.
Yeah.
We can like compare. I'm sure this movie will win out though. I've never even heard of that movie.
I think I've heard of
it's
it.
a young Tom Hanks.
Yeah. It's like an older one.
Interesting.
Like, he looks like he's 20.
So
He always looks like he's 50. Like always.
It's an old soul.
Yes. Yes, he always looks old.
So the only thing that I have is that I wrote down some quotes that I
Okay.
felt were defining quotes for the movie.
Okay.
So at somewhere in the beginning when she's still 13, her mom, she's looking at the Poise magazine. I want to be 30, like 30 and 40 and thriving. And like, I want to look like these people. And her mom goes, those aren't people, honey. Those are models.
I remember that.
Yeah.
Which is funny now because of like the Instagram like model culture that we live in.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. There's like a lot of foreshadowing in this movie of what was like actually to come, which is, I mean, for 2004 is kind of ahead of its time.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
The next one I have is actually the boyfriend, and I'm so sad. Maybe his name is Aaron or something. But he's yelling out the window. She's like just told Lucy, she's like, I don't get in the car with strangers. Like, I don't get in car with people I don't know. And then he yells out the window. He's like, hey, sweet bottom, don't make me come down there and grab you. And I'm like, no one's alarmed that this man is screaming from this roof at a woman down below.
And also sweet bottom. Do we buy that?
I kind of like it.
I buy it. I feel like he was very like, that was his vibe.
Yeah.
Yeah.
He was very comfortable with himself.
Extremely.
And then I already said this one, but when Jenna and Lucy are in the car together and they're talking about Lucy, or Jenna just said like, oh, like, and I saw his thingy. And Lucy goes, oh God, not his thingy. And I just felt like that was like very, very realistic and very like how you would talk to someone who is 13 probably.
But it's also like how I think you would talk to me if I said something like that. I think that's exactly how you would respond.
Yeah.
And when she was talking about like going home with him, like she was like, should I go to his apartment?
Are there going to be games?
Like, yeah, go play some games.
Then you see her later and she's like, he didn't have any games at all. When she's talking to the 13-year-old neighbor.
Wait, did we talk about the 13-year-old slumber party they had?
No, we didn't. We need to. I forgot about that.
Like, first of all, iconic. Second of all, would you let your 13-year-old just like go and stay in like your neighbor's
I
apartment?
literally wrote that down. I was like, who lets their kid go and hang out with their adult neighbor that's like, yeah, invite all of your young daughters to my apartment unsupervised?
I actually think that people would have allowed that. With all the kids.
I don't think my mom would have allowed that.
Really?
I think that my mom would have if she like knew the lady, but like it sounded like Jenna didn't talk to any of her neighbors.
Yeah, that's true. But maybe she got friendly with them, and then they were like, "Oh,
in
like
2 weeks,
she's friendly."
Like the whole movie happens over the course of 2 weeks. That's just. I agree with you,
Yeah.
Allison. I thought that was kind of strange. I was like,
And then we were like, wait, is it realistic that all these girls know that song? But that song is really catchy, so like they probably could have figured it out.
Yeah, especially
And
in
it makes me
2004. Like we were listening to like 80s songs and stuff.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. I liked how she was like giving them advice like she knew anything more than them too.
We are young. Heartache to heartache we stand.
I know she was giving them advice. I was like, here's some music lyrics.
And they're like, oh my God.
That's very funny. Okay. So I think it's time now for us to rate the movie.
Okay.
So Allison, we're going to have you rate first. And just as a reminder, we use letterboxd rating. So it's 0 to 5 stars with half-star increments. So.
Ooh, okay. Like if I was just rating it against other rom-coms, I think it would be higher just because of nostalgia. But I think like overall, like if I'm rating it against every movie I've ever seen and I'm rating it as a 28-year-old, I'm going to say 3.5.
Oh, okay. That's pretty good.
Yeah, that's very good.
Because it is like very like there's good comedic. It hasn't, there's nothing that's like super offensive. It's a good pace and all that.
Yeah. 3.5 stars. Cool.
Okay, Liz, what about you?
I gave this movie 5 stars.
Oh my God, of course you did.
It's one of my faves. If I had a 5th spot in Letterboxd, this one would be in the 5th spot.
What does that mean? Sorry.
So on Letterboxd, you can show your favorites, but you only get 4 favorites.
Ooh, okay.
So you have to pick your like top 4 movies. But if I had a 5th spot, 13 going on 30 would be there.
Okay.
But yeah, when I was watching it, it just like all came back to me how much I love this movie. I think I could just watch it like over and over again on repeat and never get tired of it. So 5 stars.
It's like one of those movies that's like if it's on cable and you're like at a hotel, you can't scroll past it.
No, you have to watch it. It's just so happy.
Yeah, it is very happy. Okay, so Liz, I think my rating is actually going to surprise you.
Okay.
And remember I was saying like I realized as I was watching it, like this is definitely the first time like I've seen it all the way through. And I was obsessed. Like the whole movie, I was like loving it. Like I was so into Jennifer Garner, like being this like 13-year-old in a 30-year-old's body. And I thought it was so cute. And I like rewinded and watched the end again. So I gave it 4 stars.
Yay!
Which is actually like a really high rating for me.
Court's not big into rom-coms.
No, I love rom-coms. I just don't like when they're like overly
cheesy
or silly. But I just thought this one was like very unique. I liked it.
It's youthful.
And it was like fun to watch. Like I had a good time watching it. I was like very into it the whole time.
Yeah, it was definitely fun.
Yeah.
I enjoyed that.
Me too. Okay. Well, Allison, I think that wraps everything up. So I think we're going to sign off, but I just wanted to say thank you so much for joining. Thanks for watching the movie with us and talking about it. You were an incredible critic. So thank you.
Well, thank you. Thanks so much for having me. This was a blast.
Yeah. We'll have to have you on again.
Yeah. Okay. So now we are going to briefly talk about our season 1 merch giveaway.
Woo woo.
So for those of you who don't know at this point, Liz and I are doing a merch giveaway. And we're going to have it going on the whole first season. We're not wearing any of our merch right now, but check out our Instagram for all the full details and how to enter. We're trying to get you to, stickers. So those will be some of the prizes as well. But yeah, so you can find us on all of our socials. So Twitter, Instagram, and TikTok at Be Critics Podcast.
And thanks again for checking us out. We really appreciate everyone watching and listening to our shows. And we'd appreciate it even more if you could leave us a rating or review. And if you're loving what's happening here, subscribe and follow. You can find us on YouTube, Spotify, Apple Podcasts, and Google Podcasts.
And then also check out our website, becritics.com, or find all of these links on our link tree and the episode show notes.
Yay!
All right. That's all. Bye, guys.
Bye.